Hi, and
hello again. So we're starting off with these awkward silences as we used to do.
Yeah.
Well,
again, Nikolai.
Another month has passed. We are here.
Months have passed.
It goes really fast sometimes.
I've been looking forward to make another demo of what's new.
And so have I.
Yeah,
you have been preparing a lot, working with some of the demos, and they have been good. Others have been less good. At least what you told me before, you staying up until, just so everybody understands, I mean, Matthias, he puts in enormous efforts in these videos and stays up until 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning just to be able to put together all the demos that we are showing. So big virtual high five.
Yes. Yeah, but sometimes thing doesn't do what you want them to do, and that's life, and that's how you evolve, and that's how you look into features that maybe need some more love from the developers. But that's how it is, and I think it's a good assignment to have on the show, to actually be able to look into or inside all this new stuff. Nikolai.
Agreed. And it's we have come to the Intune service release 2303. And this month, it's quite a hefty list of new features out there. Some where we will spend a little bit more time, others we will just mention and cover them and discuss them rather shortly, so that we keep this within the hour, unless we could sit here for the rest of the day and record this and nobody would watch us. I don't know.
So I don't know either, but
let's jump into this right away, I think.
Yeah, let's do that.
And the first one, ServiceNow integration, incidents, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, Nikolai, lots of help desk members or bigger corporations that are actually using ServiceNow. So it's a help desk tool, or it's a ticket tool where you can. ServiceNow is much more than that, but for this purpose, it's a ticket tool where the help desk member is assigned a task, and someone's computer is not working. I see this issue, and well, Philip from the IT department needs to fix this. So what Microsoft did was to add this into the Intune portal with a connector, so you would be able to see your open cases. So that's quite nice. But before we can see anything, we need to set it up. And we need to go to connectors and tokens, and there we will have this ServiceNow connector preview. And in order to set this up, you would, of course, need a ServiceNow environment. So I've been spending most of my nights setting up a ServiceNow tenant, developer tenant, and there's lots of stuff going on before this with OAuth authentication towards Azure, et cetera, with client secrets. Nothing I'm going to bore you with, but nevertheless, once I got to where I was awarded, or like, after all this trouble, I'm able to build this into the Intune portal. It fails on me. So obviously something I haven't done properly, but nevertheless, what it is and what it does is for the help desk member, if you turn on the troubleshooter preview, to look up the user, and then after that, their device here, all their devices, if it's not buggy. And then down here, there will be a authenticate or something familiar to that, to ServiceNow. And then you will be prompted for your user and password, and then you will authenticate to its ServiceNow, and you will be able to see your cases for this particular user. I think it's quite useful.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sorry, I was just leaning forward because I was trying to read the really hard black text, which was like applications and policies and such. I thought that was fixed already, but apparently not.
So just to show that was bad graphics, how that looks like. You see, this is the authenticate ServiceNow, and then you'll be able to. Yeah, it's really bad pictures, but we'll put the link in the description. Then you can go and see it for yourself.
Hopefully, have better success than the we did.
Yeah.
It started.
Yeah, there's also other sources that you could seek if you want. I looked into this one to integrate, and also Samesh, who also did a very good job on covering how to set this up. So we'll put them in the description as well, so you will be able to read the same guidance. Yeah.
Cool. So like I said, we have a lot of lists to go through. So let's jump into the next one. And the next one, in my opinion, is something that is really going to make a big difference. With the store for business decommissioning or termination of that service approaching really, really fast, one of the hurdles that we have had is that, well, we had this new app type, essentially helping us to install store applications. And it's now available so that you can add those new app types of the store applications within your enrollment status page, which is great. And the first thing that popped to mind for me is the company portal. That's what you want on all your devices immediately. You don't want to have it wait to, or have users waiting for that to appear. It should just be there because they need to be proactive and be able to install applications as they wish directly when it starts. I just need to ask, Matthias, is your mouse like flickering all over the screen for you as well, or is it just in the recording? Because I see two mouse pointers right now.
Okay, that's cool.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Let's try to remove the stream and then do it again. Is it better?
Oh yeah, way better.
Good. Yeah, but first of all, we need to make sure that the app we are looking at is actually what we say it is. So if we go to apps and Windows, this is particular to, what did the news say about exactly what kind of apps was it? It was, well, just new store apps, new integrated store apps in ESP. So we make sure that it is actually one of those. And the Diagnostic notepad is one of those. So we should be able to see that if we select apps here. And ta-da! It actually works.
That is cool.
And Nikolai, there's also another setting here. Only fail selected blocking apps in technician phase. And that's the preview. And it's defaulting to yes. And what is technician phase, you could ask? Well, that is the known as white glove. No, it's not white glove. It's pre-provisioning mode.
Don't even use that word. To me, it's even a little bit more, tragic, to be honest, that they are using the technician phase. I know that's a sort of internal name within Microsoft. Whenever you talk with the supports or anything, is it failing in the user phase or the technician phase? I'm like, what do you mean by technician phase? Do you mean pre-provisioning? Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you for talking the same language with me, using the same words, right? Otherwise, I just get confused.
Exactly. Yeah, so I look at this like, in the task sequence of Config Manager, when you had a sequence of applications, you just, I don't want to build my application robust. I'll just set continue on error. So if it errors, then go ahead and error. So So
yeah, it's very much the same sort of feature. And now I see 8 different mouse pointers. Wow. Do you have some sort of overlay program running, or Zoom it?
Must be Zoom it. Must
Yeah.
be Zoom it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We will have to deal with it.
Yeah.
No, but as you were saying, yes, it's very much the same as in a task sequence, continue on error. Maybe you would have to rethink your approach with only like really adding the sort of list of blocking apps to those that you must have installed. And then simply just when you flip that switch, it will behave a little bit differently. Microsoft put out a blog post that explains the behavior and the changes whenever you flip that switch. We should add that to the description as well, so that you can go and read it. It's really helpful, really good written, and explains everything about this new switch. Cool.
Absolutely. And just remember that still that we have these options, ESP and autopilot will never become a task sequence. Just FYI.
I honestly hope not, to be honest. I just want to point out something. We've been talking about new app types and store and something. And just if you've watched the previous videos and read up on news about the decommissioning of Microsoft Store for Business Service and such, because I still see a few people being relatively confused about this. And there is no new store. It's still the public-facing Microsoft Store that this new app type is leveraging and pointing towards, leveraging Winget in the background. That's the only difference. So the Store for Business is being shut down. There's a new app type that helps us to easier manage the installation of store apps. And now you can have that app type in the ESP as well, which is great.
Exactly.
Cool.
And the business store connector that should actually, or the business store should actually be deprecated at this time, Nikolai, but it's actually got postponed for 1 month. So
yeah, I saw some internal communication around that. I cannot disclose the dates unless they have been made public, and I don't know about it. So let's maybe not talk about it. But I mean, we had that feeling. Not even being able to have this functionality that we now have like 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, and then shutting down the service. There were a few use cases that they had to essentially release before it could even be shut down. But it is what it is.
It is what it is, and at least Microsoft is listening, so that's a good thing.
That's a very good thing. So next up on our topic for today is the capability of adding CMPivot queries into the favorites folder.
And this requires the tenant attach feature. So
it surely does.
If you tenant attach your environment, you would have different kind of clients in your environment. You can see managed by, I have some co-managed, I have some MD, I have some Intune, and I have some config manager. And the new CMPivot stuff that came around is something we've had in the SCCM or CM console for a very long time. It is that we can actually save our queries now. Tenant attaches here for the help desk, so we don't have to leverage the config manager console, but we can leverage this layer of easier management. So we could have event log, for example, and then we could have inside that, we could have look for application, and we would project that through the proxy if it works. It actually fetches down through config manager and then on the actual client using the config manager agent on the client, and it's working very, very well on my environment. So much for staying up and demo stuff. Nevertheless, let's see if we got better off with this query. The language here is KQL, so it's a known language, and we use it a lot when we look into, for example, advanced hunting, Sentinel, log analytics, etc. So KQL is here. It's a really good language, and we should all learn the basics of it. And I hope that my environment will respond to this, but sometimes, well, it in my demos it took like 19 seconds. Now it takes like 45 seconds. So that's what it is. And the news in this one is that we now can save this query and say recently used apps new CMPivot feature, and we'll save that. And we have it here in our favorites. So it's not something that my colleague would ever see, because this is for my user in my tenant attached feature here, and not for you couldn't see it if you had a user in my tenant. So yeah, be aware that this is not a global favorite. It is a favorite for you as the user using the portal right now. But I think it's a good addition, and yeah, it's getting better all the time, Nikolai.
It's definitely a good thing. I mean, I can just see myself. I do it on a daily basis in SQL. I create some queries. I forget to save them, and I have no clue how to figure out what I did because I woke up on the wrong side in the morning, whatever. So be able to save this. I mean, you can do the same in the Log Analytics workspace. Save your queries in there. This is a really good addition. I agree.
Yeah.
And we have a few more tenant attach news, right, to talk about.
Yeah, it's a very small feature, but nevertheless, it's a good feature, and it's being able to see where your device is managed actually. If it's managed by Intune or Config Manager or whatever it is, it's just adding more information to say this is vital information for you. Yeah, but nothing really big thing about that.
Cool. Something else, though, that I believe is a really big thing, and it's something we have been waiting for a long time, at least I have, and it is the ability to deploy Win32 apps to device-based groups and not only user groups. I know that everybody from a certain company that starts with the letter M really likes us to user target everything. We in our organization where I work, we cannot really do so. We can, but it's much harder and much more complicated with a group structure. So we target everything against devices and making it available to the device group instead now of user groups, which I think it's just perfect. You can now do everything against device groups. I like it.
Exactly.
And it has been there for quite some time, I think, right? It's just that it's been added to the docs now. Yeah,
thing have the I would say it slips into the product. Someone discovers that, and they if they have a tenant in Asia or Australia, they are the first ones that get patched for new features. And when they discover things, they are very quickly putting stuff on Twitter, so you would see stuff before it actually comes to the docs. So it's quite hard for Microsoft because they have this rollout model to say, okay, do we put out the docs or the news now, and know that those in Europe and America won't have that feature now, but only those patching first. It's kind of hard, but yeah.
You'll just have to go with the flow and wait until it hits your tenant.
Exactly.
There's nothing else we can do.
Nope. But yeah, available to devices, the CD CD Burner XP, which is a very, very old application. This is for another demo. I put that into to the available all devices, and we can see the application here. So it's very much working.
XP.
Yeah,
that brings back memories.
Indeed.
Burning, CDs and DVD. Oh man, that's so long ago.
It's the other day I was painting on CDs, so like Easter painting.
Like Easter fun with your kids and
yeah, exactly. Kids don't know what a CD is.
It's actually really fun because when I went to get my son from daycare a couple of weeks ago, they had just taken these CDs and just hung them up in ropes in the roof and made art with them. And I was trying to explain to my son, who's 2 years old, that this is a CD. There's like data on there that you can listen to music. And he went, "It's blue." I painted it. And like, okay, yeah, sure. It's like explaining what a tape cassette is for the young generation today. It's just funny.
Mm.
Anyway, off topic. Let's move on.
Yeah. The next news here is also around application management, and we've been given this new API to the store, and the ability to actually deploy a UWP app to the whole device instead of just the user. The good thing about that is that it provisions to the device to be installed for all the users logging onto the device. So it's a thing that we actually needed to have. And how do we actually see that? I didn't say Win32, I said UWP. And we have it down here. Install behavior, that was a user behavior before. Now you have the possibility to switch that around and actually get the behavior you want for a UWP app as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm thinking company portal again here. I mean,
again,
it's a good example.
Yeah, but don't mix it up. There was actually a pretty good guide on that. You don't want to mix up user or system context here. So make up your mind when you do it and deploy it as system or as user.
So when you say mix up, should I not have a application for user context assigned and then another application with system context assigned to the same device, essentially?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Saying. Yeah. Just a tip.
Cool tip.
Good.
I think we have additional application news, and for the Win32 apps, minimum OS versions sort of drop down where you could select, okay, only allow this application to be installed if you're running a minimum version of Windows 10 or 11. And that list has been, forgotten about, not really updated for a very long time. I think even the list at some point a few weeks back only contained unsupported versions of Windows 10, which is like, yeah, okay, cool. Now we have the option to go a little bit further into the future of new releases. So here you can see the Matthias is showing that Windows 11 is in there, and all the also now supported versions of Windows 10, or the current supported versions, has been updated and added in there. I think this is great. I know that the Twitter community has been pushing this hard, reminding Microsoft PMs on a weekly basis that what's going on? Are you updating it? Are you adding new stuff? What's happening? Now it's here. It's good. Hopefully we won't have to wait, 1.5 years until it's being updated for the next time. But whoever is around to see will learn.
Yeah, and we definitely don't help. We definitely don't hope that you have Windows 10 1607 on your systems, but that's kind of out of support, at least to 20H2, because that's supported until May, I think.
Yep,
Yeah,
definitely.
So a very long list.
If it were to me, I would probably start to clean up this list the next time around. But let's just be happy that they extended the list with new.
It's a good thing, because if you want to make sure that you move people, this could be a thing to move people from Windows 10 to Windows 11. You could say, if you want this app, if you want this great new experience, well, you have to move to Windows 11, because that's the minimum requirement for these apps. It might not be a requirement for the particular app, but it could be a requirement for your business to move your users.
Could be.
Yeah.
Or they would just complain loud enough and they would get their will anyway. I don't know. That happens.
Yeah.
I totally agree that that's a really good strategy to make use of, and why also I understand that people have been asking for this for a long time now. And we have more new stuff, but now we sort of go away a little bit from the application management area and go into the more specific Windows 11 features, specifically the organizational messages. And we can now see status updates, right? If it's pending or if it's failed.
Yeah.
Or
we can, but I tried to demo this in one of the earlier videos. I think it was actually our first, Nikolai, where I set all these policies to our clients, and I just couldn't get this notification through, and I still haven't seen this taskbar notification. But yeah, the thing that has updated now is that the status got more ways of showing something to what is actually happening out there. So no really big news there, but at least we will have a pending or a fail message if something should happen unexpectedly to our message through our users.
Cool. I mean, I really hope that this feature gets more attention and is built more stable, because I mean, if we test it out and it doesn't work the first time, it's sort of just I lose interest rather quickly in such. But hopefully they continue to invest in hello teams.
Yeah.
In this feature to improve it over time, because I strongly believe this is a game changer. I don't know how many notification scripts that I've built for the native notification experience in Windows 10 and 11, and the work involved and the customization and the deployment. It's such an effort just to get a message out there. And this is a really good replacement for any such customizations. And so let's see what the future holds here. I'm really intrigued about this, that it's going to help us a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let's move into your favorite subjects, security.
Oh, I just love security. It's written all over me. This is a security guy.
Have a cap,
Yeah,
security or Defender logo or something.
Yeah. So the first thing here is a firewall setting that came into the system, and let's see, it is the network manager. Yeah. So we go into the Windows 10, Windows 11, and Windows Server, and into the Windows Defender firewall, and let's just give it a random name here. And what we see is that we now can allow TLS authentication endpoints within our business. So If you have any internal endpoints where you need to make sure communication there is handled using TLS authentication, you can now configure that in your firewall policy. I don't know if that was something you could configure from the settings catalog before, or you had to create custom scripts or proactive remediation. But nevertheless, it is very, very easy to import your URLs internally now onto your systems.
Super.
Yeah.
Everybody loves TLS and authentication and URLs and.
Yep, but that's not the only thing we got within the firewall. We actually have 3 new topics, and the next topic we're going to look at is the way that we can actually configure support for logging, and that weren't supported before, at least from the firewall. But yeah, now we got it. And what we can is we can enable the log success. We know that already. If we went into the firewall, advanced firewall, we could enable these things from within the control panel. But now we can configure this. We can enable the log ignored rules. And there was one more, if I remember correctly. Yes, enable log dropped packages. That's the one. And there was one last one, log file path. Where do we want that log to be placed within our device to gather all these logs that we recently enabled using our new firewall rule? So what we will get now is a log file that will log all the traffic. So maybe we shouldn't, enable it for everything, but maybe just for, ignored rules or disabled or dropped packages. So you have something when you need to debug.
I think this is great because I know, where I work, we unfortunately don't use Defender at this point, but having looked into it, one of the logging configuration capabilities that was missing was a huge thing because it was rather messy to get that centrally managed, and so I think this is a really good contribution to that area because logs, they are great. They tell the truth, right? Without them, you're sort of lost.
Yeah, just make sure you don't, audit for everything because it will have impact on your devices. So,
is there a log rotation built in so that whenever it reaches a threshold, or
I think there is.
Up the disk?
Yeah, it's a 4 megabyte log file, I think, but you can see that if you go to the device and under the advanced control panel and firewall, you will see there's a log file size, I guess it's called, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time since I were there last time, but yeah, otherwise specified here.
Maybe we will talk about this in a couple of months. That it has been added. Who knows?
Yeah.
Cool. And a little bit more about the firewall stuff, mobile broadband support.
Yeah, exactly. And that's for our firewall rules and not so much the firewall itself. We are able to detect profile if you are a so-called network type interface mobile broadband. So it's a good thing because more and more PCs are built in with broadband capabilities, and roaming around, you would have to sort of build a firewall rule task list for this kind of interface for your devices. So it's good.
I think this is great that we can actually control these by the interface types. For the company I work for, we just we're almost completed our hardware refresh this cycle. and we opted for 5G modems or adapters in all our laptops, and it's heavily used. And it's been a really appreciated feature by our users as well. So being able to control this from the rules perspective and maybe restrict it a little bit more or make it a little bit more open depending on your requirements, that brings definitely better control for that aspect. So that's great, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
And you want to do your company portal demo now?
Yeah, I do. But first of all, I need to unassign this category for my device. You saw my demo before. When I opened the company portal, I was prompted to put in a device category. Let's see if it prompts me again. No, I was too fast. But nevertheless, let's just look at how we create these sort of device categories. We go down to devices and all the way down here to device categories. This is something I really haven't used a lot. I looked at it when I started looking into Intune because it could be nice to kind of target the device with a category and then being able to filter on that category afterwards. Thing is, it prompts the user to put in a category when you start up the company portal the first time. That's for iOS. I guess for Android, I haven't seen it on Android, but on Windows as well. And the user wouldn't be able to say which category they would be in. So this would be kind of, if you imagine having multiple profiles where you assign different kind of policies, it could be a nice way to do it. But we went with another strategy, and let's see if the change actually. No, it doesn't. But you saw it. I had to make a choice, and the new thing that has landed in our portal is that under the customization here, if I go edit and I scroll all the way down here to device categories, let's use the select device categories in the company portal. I can block that and say save. And now all of a sudden I can create all kinds of device categories, and no one where they haven't chosen something will not be prompted for that device category.
I think this is a great change because, I mean, I would say that the device categories was extremely underutilized out there in the wild, simply due to this fact that it would be dependent on the user making a selection. And wouldn't it be fun if you worked in sales and you selected IT department or whatever instead, and you got some really cool software installed just by making the wrong selection? I mean, that sort of workflow, it doesn't work. I mean, you cannot depend on that for various configuration options and such. So for those of you who would like to start utilizing categories and stuff, this is something you need to configure then, because it makes much more sense. It keeps you in control of the actual members of a category, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And after that, you will be able to actually leverage this device category as a filter. And that's the nice thing about this device category, and then equals to Intune demo. And there you have it. You could preview a device and you would see all your device categories having the Intune demo tag.
So now I'm just thinking about this. Could we essentially say, because filters doesn't support autopilot group tags, right? Specifically. So let's say that we have an Azure AD dynamic group that filters out for a certain part of your autopilot group tag. You assign that to a device category. Now all of a sudden, you can have that, right? Within filters.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
You just have to make a way to apply these filter or these categories onto your devices, but you can do that using Azure Automation or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, has it changed? Is it not targeted towards a group now?
No, the device categories are just there. So you don't target those
I thought that was improved. Otherwise, I went a little bit ahead of myself there, I think. That would have been really cool.
You just built yourself a feature there. So you see.
So Scott, Duffy, if you're listening to this, make us assign the the device categories to a group, and we have solved the problem with autopilot group tags in the filters.
Yeah. Exactly. You do it when we do RBAC rules. You scope tag your devices.
Yeah,
you can do that on Azure AD groups. Why not on device categories?
That would be so cool, I think.
Yeah. Let's see where that can bring us, Nikolai.
So if it comes in the future, you heard it first. Oh, that's interesting. Let's move on to the news and updates for this month. Should we talk about this?
We should talk about this. We talked about it in the last month news, and we said, don't use the URL intune.microsoft.com.
But you've been doing it.
Yeah,
or is it okay now?
I'm doing it, and it's actually the way to do it now. So if you're using endpoint.microsoft.com, you should switch.
Just update your bookmark if you have any. Start typing in Intune, and you're good.
Not Intunes or anything else. Intune.
iTunes, perhaps.
iTunes, no.
Different.
Yeah. If you want to buy music, go to iTunes, but not. Intune.microsoft.com it is, and I know a lot of companies who does instruction guides and stuff, and they have to change those now. But that's the name of the game.
What happens if you add a set after E in the URL? Just give it a try. Intunes.
Okay. Let's do it.
For the fun of it.
Like that?
Yeah. Give it a try. Oh. It would have been really funny if they would have an alias for it.
Yeah. Intunes.
Anyway, Intunes.
It doesn't exist.
It's funny.
Let's just call it what it is. Intune. Yeah.
Exactly. But on a more serious note, though, with this month's release, there has been a new product added to the Intune suite.
There has.
Which is the Endpoint Privilege Management, which is in public preview.
Yeah, and that means that we don't need a license at the moment.
At the moment. But we can definitely go and test it out and make sure that it fulfills those requirements that we may have from an EPM perspective. Or at least let us try it out to see if the current solution that may be in place is something that could be changed with towards this, or if you just want to essentially, start on your journey of removing administrator rights and go on the not passwordless journey, but the standard user journey.
Exactly.
This is a really good feature. I know that Microsoft have been working really long time on this. And in the public preview, there are a few missing key features, I believe, but it's supposed to come out in GA version. So let's wait until that arrives to discuss about or talk about those. But immediately we can start off with simply just asking for elevation. Users can right-click, and we can auto-elevate as well, if I'm not mistaken. That's the two types of rules that we can set.
Yeah.
But where do you start? You create your settings policy, right?
Yeah. Elevation. And when we do this, the device is actually going to enroll into the service. It's going to send out a client to our device, like the IME, Intune Management Extension, when you want to leverage, for example, Win32, proactive remediation, or PowerShell scripts. You have the Intune Management Extension handling that. Same thing goes on here. We have the EPM client that will start installing on your device. There are some limitations. You can't use AVD or Windows VDI for that sake right now, but that is on the roadmap, as I heard. But we would like to.
If you have SSL inspection, that's a big no-no. That's not going to work.
Exactly. Yeah. No SSL inspection, no proxies. Yeah, but basically we would like to send these reporting or data to Microsoft, or otherwise you can't really get anything in the reports around this, and it doesn't really hurt anything. So I'm using the diagnostic data and all endpoint elevations, and then I hope to get a rich report on the backside of things. And this is the default elevation response. So if you have no rule applied to your device around how should it elevate, then it's elevating back to the default elevation. And so this is kind of what will it do if you have no rules applied for your device, and the not configured is the same as deny all requests. So yeah, if you like to make sure all your users will all the time be able to elevate, you can bring in some justifications. Otherwise, you would deny all requests or just not configured. And then you assign it to your devices or your users, depending on your assigning strategy. And what will happen is that it will start installing the EPM client on your device. And after that, you can go ahead and assign some rules. And these rules, that could be, for example, the Office package. So let's say, and now you see the elevation type again. It's exactly the same as we saw on the default behavior. So we could say user confirmed, and we want it to be a business justification. And then we have a file name. We shouldn't use that, because then you can actually just rename files to that particular file name. Not that it would hurt, because we will, for example, use a certificate to make sure the signature is okay. That could be, for example, on the Office package. If I download the Office setup.exe, I could go for properties on that and digital signatures. And if I click View Certificate, I could copy that to a file and click, click, click. What I will get out of that is this Office certificate. I'll put that here. And then we could upload it. And it will change it to a base 64 value. And we could use the, for example, internal name of the exe file. And the internal name, you get that from here. So it's bootstrapper.exe, because no one will be able to change that. And hit save. So I created a user rule now for the Office package. I assign it to the same users that I have the EPM client. And now all of a sudden, I'm able to, elevate Office package. So how does it look like, Nikolai? I actually went ahead and made a demo on my own device. My device is a physical, so it works much better. I have two instances of the Notepad++, and I want to, install that. So on a Windows 11, if you hold Shift and right-click, you get the richer right-click menu. If you just right-click, you get the modern, not so useful right-click
Modern
menu.
context menu, yeah.
So right-click and run with elevation. So this is Danish. Apologies for that, but this is the business justification. I want to test, and then I continue. And now it asks me for the Windows authentication that I said it should. And now it wants me to click Control-Alt-Delete. And you can't see that, I guess, but I'm typing in my Windows Hello credentials. And whoa, I got an issue here. What the beep is going on? Unable to elevate this app because it came from the internet or another computer. Okay.
I like how you're thinking. You're smart.
If I go to properties on that, so I downloaded this from the internet, and that typically come with a blocking on the exe files. I have to remove that. I did that for this copy. So if I run that, I do the same. All of a sudden, I'm here. I can now install my Notepad++.
It's cool.
That's how the EPM is working. And,
I like it.
Yeah.
Just imagine an organization with 100,000 users where there's approximately 60,000 different sort of executables being triggered on X amount of time. Yeah. So what I'm getting to here is that I think this is an extremely good start, but it needs a way to automatically build rules like Matthias just mentioned here, because you would have to assign a whole team of investigating and collecting all the certificates and all the related data with internal names and stuff that needs to be added and validate that the rules work and so forth. It's a whole different department just working with these rule sets essentially and working with EPM. So it requires some thinking. You would have to make sure that you just don't turn this on. Otherwise, you would have havoc for your users screaming a lot. But I think, like I said, it's a really good start. But we need a little bit more from this before I think it's a full-fledged, really good substitute for other vendors out there. And hopefully Microsoft listens. We have heard a few roadmap items, what's coming, and I think it's really intriguing. It's going to be interesting to see where this lands and what comes next. Do you have the reporting enabled just to show it?
No, I don't have any reports, unfortunately. But yeah, maybe we can show that in the next demo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But
there's another aspect for this, right? Diagnostic data.
It is, and the diagnostic data is for when we do troubleshooting on the device. So, for example, if I go to a device and I start collecting things on the particular device, I would like to get these sort of places where EPM is actually operating, and that could be in the registry here. Could be the PNP util, and it would also be some loggings. So this is included. Be aware that of course you need to be on a certain level of OS patch, but other than that, it should work out of the box.
It's cool. It's good.
Yeah.
It's nice that we can collect these logs centrally and actually look at them. Because that's going to be it's essentially necessary for a team to work with that functionality to get it if something is not working as expected. And maybe at least last but not least, there's some improvements going on in the device blade area in the admin center, or in the Intune portal, maybe we should say.
You say improvements? Okay.
And I need to restrain myself a little bit on this feature. I have sent in a lot of feedback around this. What if you hover around the Windows button, Matthias? Just
like that.
Nice. Finally.
You expected something else, Nikolai?
I expected a white background.
Yeah, so it's a brand new experience, and I think we kind of saw this earlier on, but then it was pushed to you in your portal. It wasn't quite as nice as this one, but it was something familiar. Now it's an opt-in, so you can turn it off, you can turn it on, whatever you like, because obviously there's a many in your company, if you're large enough, working within Intune. So you need to align this with your colleagues and make sure all your guidelines and all that is actually familiar with this change of UI. Otherwise, people won't be able to find whatever they look for.
Absolutely. I think definitely this is a step in the right direction. I just think that there's a few workflows perhaps that is being obstructed by this change and this new functionality. The first thing I just want to mention, please provide feedback to Microsoft around this change, because I expect it to be a change in the coming time frame, pretty near in the future, that this is going to be how it looks. And I personally really depend on a visual navigation structure, which is to me not really this, because there is no icons on the left menu. I've been really vocal about that as well. I think that's a big step backwards, removing the icons on the left pane under, let's say, device onboarding or managed devices. And the second thing here is that device onboarding, that's not what you do on a daily basis. You do not go into cloud PC creation or enrollment. I mean, so flipping around the ordering here, where you would have overview all devices, then you would have managed devices, and the device onboarding would be maybe towards the bottom, because that's a less commonly used part of the portal itself. What's good, though, on the opposite side is that these rather big buttons is how you manage my platform, and that I use that daily. I think that's great. I just hope that, because if you click on one of these buttons, you get into the old preview, or not old preview, but the old experience, right? So here you see the icons are back again, and it's it's a different experience. And my general feedback has been that you cannot have one sort of theme or layout in the left menu in the whole Intune Admin Center, then change only the device blade, remove icons from there, making it, for instance, inconsistent in views. And then if you click any of the buttons, that's supposed to be easier from a navigation perspective, instead of having it in a left menu, which I think it is, takes you back to the old sort of theme or layout again. I mean, it's just, I understand I think I understand where they are going, and I hope to see the whole sort of navigation through the portal to be, combined towards the same experience. Because right now it's a preview, but it's obstructing me more than helping me to get where I want faster, which I believe is one of the goals with these UI changes, at least. But we should point out something that I feel is really good and an improvement. So if you go into configurations, for instance, under managed devices, and you click on policies, the tabs, and then you can go to columns.
Yep.
And there you can select scope tags.
Ooh.
And you could do that before, but now you can see that how many per item that you have in here. So you may have one, you may have two, whatever. And this is a really good, let's say, just visualization of, if you only expect all your profiles named by a certain way or a naming standard, and one of them have two scope tags, well, you may have forgotten to remove the default one, and it easily gives you a quick visualization that something is maybe a little bit off. and you can go and remediate it. So that's a great improvement. And it has an icon. So
and it's green. Green's good.
And it's green. It would be interesting to see if there would ever to be a red icon if you have no scope tags. I don't know how that works, but that's kind of funny. But could you do this? Click the back button from here.
Yeah.
What happens? No, the back
here.
button. Yep. What happens then? You're not returned to the list of policies. Oh, you click 2 times, I think.
Okay, I can do it
policies again and click back.
Oh.
That's even worse than it was before. What's happening? So what if do you have a mouse button like backwards?
Yeah. That was backwards.
Yeah. So when I tested this a few days ago, I think it was last week. So one of my workflows that I usually do, because we have over like 400 different configuration profiles, is that you go and edit one, then you go and edit another and make changes to, like, say, with different cadences or configuration profiles, one for dev, one for UAT, and so forth, is that I make one change in one, I go backwards. I don't click the breadcrumbs because it's requiring me to move the mouse all over back and forth. And if you just click the back button before, you would get back to the configuration list of items again. I think that's a workflow that needs to be incorporated into this portal itself. Yeah, you can go and click on the breadcrumbs, but you want to be fast when you're working in here, and that's some feedback I provided as well. That you should be able to just use the navigation buttons or the mouse button actions and have that incorporated into the workflows as well. But now you're not even taken back to the configuration, you're just brought back to the whole device plate itself. Yeah, I think that's even worse. So anyway,
we should automate, shouldn't we?
Did you actually click on one of the profiles?
No, I didn't.
Okay, that's maybe what I tested. Yeah, click on one, click backwards. Yeah, that's what I wanted to show. That okay, it's still happening. So you're taking back to the monitoring section, right? Now you need to click policies again.
Yeah.
It's the small details that makes the experience for us administrators good. And this feedback I've sent to them as well. What do you like about the monitoring section?
The monitoring section. Well,
the stuff you're showing right now.
Yeah, but you know, it's the first time I looked into it because I wanted to see this for the first time when we did the demo. So my view on it, well, I think it's fine, but why these 3 monitoring? Why not something else? And
exactly.
Why is this the most important I have? Is that why they are here?
I don't know. My thinking here is that, I mean, rather than continuing with this sort of split sense of monitoring / reporting, I would rather have, well, if I want to look in a specific configuration profile and how it's currently doing and being deployed and how many failures there is, my initial thinking would be to go to the profile and look at the data from the profile.
Oh, now I get it. The monitoring was the old devices and then monitor.
Exactly. So that's a preset of defined sort of reports in there. But I would expect that all of this be moved into the report section instead, because I mean, if you want to start off with a to get data from a reporting perspective, right? All this monitoring stuff, and it should simply be moved in one step up, I think, into reports. It makes much more sense. I know it's an enormous effort for Microsoft to go and do that, but overall in the future, it makes much more sense, I think.
Yeah. Yeah,
but I mean, if they could make these small enhancements, like bringing back the icons, maybe flipping the tabs around so that if you click on configuration profiles, you would get a list of policies initially. because you generally make more changes to a policy than you actually click on those predefined monitoring reports or items. I think this can be good in the end.
Yeah.
I truly hope so.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's important. I mean, everybody listening to this or watching this right now, please fill in and send in your feedback. Microsoft is really depending on this. They have ideas by themselves. Some of the feedback that we as MVPs have already sent in, it's already being considered. It's being added to the backlog to improve this throughout the preview. Mm-hmm. So provide your feedback. That's how we all end up in a good state in the future.
Yeah, it's important for all of us.
And I'm done ranting.
But it was good, Nikolai, to see the new device overview here. This is actually my first go on this view. I honestly wanted to have, now I demo it, what do I think immediately about it?
Yeah, I forced myself to start using it a little bit. I found it a little bit harder to navigate in the left structure, because now I actually definitely need to read the text and relearn the positionings of the different configurations in there. And to me, conditional access makes no sense to keep in there. If I would go and make conditional access changes, if I have such permissions, I would want that differently. I would not even want it in this portal, to be honest.
Oh.
That's my sense, or that's what makes sense to me.
Yeah, we have lots of workloads and how people work with the techniques, but yeah, I actually like the way that they put in this Windows 10 and later updates now, quality updates, etc. Expedited feature update rings and then monitor.
Yeah,
would be
then
nice.
Again, I mean, I would rather name that update management, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Update configuration, something different.
Yeah.
I mean, let's think, let's say 3 years ahead, we may have Windows 12 or whatever it's, if there is a new version coming. Should it still always say Windows 10? I mean, then I would have to read the whole line and remember, okay, it's updates that's in Windows 10 and later updates. So, I mean, I would say there is definitely room for improvements here, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, Nikolai, I think that was a wrap on what's new in 2303. And that was not very, very few items. That was actually a lot. And we can see that Microsoft are heavily involved in building new feature for us, not only within Intune, but also tenant attached capabilities to our co-managed or tenant attached environments. And I think it's nice.
Sure.
And I really love that we have a little of both.
Definitely. The on-premise days is not forgotten about. They still exist.
They still exist. And sure. I think that's why we keep hanging on Windows 10 in the menus. We have to be reminded that was the last OS we had. No.
And with that note, I think we should wrap it up. Thank you, Matthias.
Thank you very much.
See you next month. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.